This is the VOA Special English Education Report. The Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in the American state of South Dakota is home to the Oglala Sioux tribe. It's also where Nikki Olette is in her first year as the journalism teacher at Little Wound High School. Miss Olette teaches the 12 students on the school newspaper, the Mustang News. She helps them choose story ideas if they need help. She says, sometimes if we're getting stuck, I'll kind of guide them along. But especially lately, they've been the one picking the articles. One student wanted to write her own column, comparing the weather to different parts of her own life. Another student wanted to start writing some song reviews. So now every 2 weeks, she picks out a couple of songs and writes a review about them. The reporters also cover news like a recent flood at the school caused by a broken water pipe. Yet the real story here is that Nikki Olette is the school's first journalism teacher in years. The Mustang News had stopped publishing. But now, not only is it back, copies are included every other week in the Lakota Country Times, a local newspaper. This way, school news reaches parents and other people in the community. Other student newspapers have been incorporated into Native American papers, but not many. The publisher of the Lakota Country Times, Connie Smith, says the public has welcomed the idea. She says, everywhere I go, people are talking to me about how proud they are. The kids do the news. They do the interviews. They take the pictures. Sometimes a teacher may have something that goes in, but mostly it's the students. Connie Smith says the quality is as good as some of the stories that are written by community members for the Lakota Country Times. The idea inspired 2 other schools on the Pine Ridge Reservation to publish their own papers. They take turns being included in the Times. Brooke Chase alone works on the Mustang News at Little Wound High School. She says her favorite story so far has been covering the history of the annual Bigfoot ride. This is a 2-week trail ride from the Standing Rock Reservation to Wounded Knee. Wounded Knee was where government soldiers killed more than 200 Sioux in 1890. The Army called it a battle. Indians called it a massacre. Brooke has a personal connection to the story she wrote. Her grandfather, Percy White Plume, helped start the Bigfoot ride and one of the original riders, she says. She went to his house and interviewed him about his experience. For VOA Special English, I'm Carolyn Presutti. For more ways to learn American English and stay informed every day, go to voaspecialenglish.com from your computer or mobile device.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. About 1/5 of Americans aged 6 to 19 are considered overweight. To reduce that number, some schools are teaching children to make better food choices. The E.W. Stokes Public Charter School in Washington has started to include food topics in its 3rd grade math and English programs. The school formed a partnership with Seedling Projects, an environmental group in San Francisco, California. Peter Nally is a curriculum director for a program called Farm to Desk. He says they are doing this in part to address the issue of childhood obesity. He says One of the main components of our program is our belief that if kids are exposed to positive and healthy messaging about food throughout the instructional day, that has the most potential to impact long-term change. Teacher Hannah Chen recently used food examples to teach 8 and 9-year-olds in a math class how to make combinations. For example, they figured out the different combinations that could be made with a pizza and 2 toppings. School chef Makisha Day says the school buys most of its food from local farms. But the school has a garden for the students to grow some of the vegetables themselves. The children, they love it, she says. Teacher Hannah Chen agrees. She says, "We have a salad bar at the school, and now the kids love the salad bar. They love the fruits and vegetables. So I think it is making a big difference in their lives." She says the 3rd graders have also learned to read the sugar and fat content listed on food packages. She says the E.W. Stokes Public Charter School in Washington plans to expand the Farm to Desk program to other grades next year. Charter schools get public money but do not have to follow the same rules as traditional public schools. Many charter schools have specialized areas of study, like Environmental Charter High School near Los Angeles. Students learn the importance of protecting the environment. Rigo Estrada says he used to be the kind of person who threw trash on the street. But now he has done things like clean up beaches and teach elementary school students about the importance of water conservation. He says he now knows that going green actually is a really serious topic. Students learn from teachers and outside experts, like the owner of an environmentally friendly business. They also learn how to prepare a business plan that they can use to help pay for college. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. This is the VOA Special English Education Report. A few years ago, a university researcher was having problems with an experiment that involved medical imaging. His advisor and his friends had no solutions. The researcher was Iyad Madish at Harvard in Massachusetts. "I was so frustrated," he says. His solution was to start a scientific network for researchers. It lets them connect with each other and share information about their research and their publications. ResearchGate is similar to another social network developed at Harvard, Facebook. But Mr. Madish says the purpose of his site is to make scientists more productive. He says his goal is to win a Nobel Prize. If we think that ResearchGate will accelerate research in all the different fields, it will change the speed of science significantly in the future. So I definitely do believe that ResearchGate could win the Nobel Prize for that one day. Mr. Madish received the support of investors, including a former Facebook executive and the same investment group that put money into Twitter. So far, 900,000 people have signed up as members of ResearchGate. One of those users is Caroline Moore Cokeless at Boston University. Her profile page shows her picture and her specialty, neuroscience. It also lists her doctoral advisor and the work she has published. She can follow other researchers and click on to group pages that discuss different subjects. She also uses Facebook, but says people almost never discuss science there. She says on ResearchGate, she can ask questions and learn about what other researchers are working on before they publish their results. She can also learn about recently published science. She says, the scientific literature is so huge at this point that it's really impossible to get through everything in your topic area. People really rely on hearing it from other people. But not every user is pleased with ResearchGate. Kim Bertrand at the Harvard School of Public Health is an epidemiologist, someone who studies the spread and control of diseases. Ms. Bertrand says she finds more value in her own offline network of researchers and advisors than in this online network. She says, sometimes I get these emails that are like, "Dear Sirs, I'm writing a dissertation on public health. Any suggestions? Please advise." I don't need that. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. To read and listen to more stories, go to voaspecialenglish.com. This is the VOA Special English Education Report. Stephen Weinberger is the Director of Linguistics in the English Department at George Mason University in Fairfax, Virginia. Students in his beginning phonetics class are mostly interested in teaching English as a second language. They wanted to study how non-native speakers pronounce different sounds. So we sent the students out to record non-native speakers, and we compared those speakers to each other and to native speakers of English. Professor Weinberger wrote a 69-word paragraph for all of the speakers to read. The paragraph uses common words but contains almost all of the sounds used in English. Here it is. Please call Stella. Ask her to bring these things with her from the store. 6 spoons of fresh snow peas, 5 thick slabs of blue cheese, and maybe a snack for her brother Bob. We also need a small plastic snake and a big toy frog for the kids. She can scoop these things into 3 red bags, and we will go meet her Wednesday at the train station. In 1999, Professor Weinberger put the recordings online. The Speech Accent Archive is for anyone who wants to compare and analyze the accents of different English speakers. Some people think the archive would be better if it included natural speech, people talking freely, not just reading the same words. Professor Weinberger recognizes the strengths and weaknesses of his site. The biggest plus, of course, is that it is so uniform that you can immediately compare a Kiswahili speaker to a native English speaker. But the downside is that a less than skilled reader will have difficulties with the paragraph that might not demonstrate their true phonetic abilities. People often use sounds from their first language until they can reproduce the ones used in the language they are learning. Professor Weinberger says the site gets 1 million visits a month. We get notices from speech pathologists, from computational engineers who do speech processing, from PhD students who want to do research on bias and accent judgments, from actors who need to learn a special part. The archive contains more than 1,500 recordings. Professor Weinberger would like more people to send in their own samples. There are about 6,000 languages in the world today. The archive only has samples from about 350 of them. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. Last time, we talked about massive open online courses, also called MOOCs. Tens of thousands or even more people can take these classes all at once. You can be anywhere in the world to take a MOOC. All you need is a computer and a network connection. MOOCs add to a tradition of what is known as distance learning. For years, many colleges have offered classes that are taught partly or mostly online. MOOCs are available in subjects like computer science, engineering, or mechanics. Can MOOCs in subjects like arts or the humanities be as effective? Scott Anderson teaches philosophy at the University of British Columbia in Canada. He sees both good and bad sides to online courses. Mr. Anderson believes that some parts are fine. For example, when a teacher gives a presentation to the class, there is no special reason why students need to be physically present to hear it. And he says there is no reason why they need to be physically present to do readings. Mr. Anderson says increased numbers of people taking MOOCs can mean less communication between students and teachers. He says 2 ways to deal with this are by adding more teachers and graders and setting up online discussion groups. Lisa Jadwin teaches English and American literature and writing at St. John Fisher College in New York. She says online education has some weaknesses for her subjects. She says the teaching of literature requires face-to-face interaction. Professor Jadwin says some students could learn well from presentations and reading assignments, blogs, and discussion groups. But she believes that hybrid courses work best. She describes hybrids as mixing face-to-face course elements with computer-aided teaching and writing projects. Bill Pogue teaches communications at the University of Houston downtown. He says that after leading classes for more than 30 years, he would not attempt to teach a MOOC. However, Mr. Pogue sees good value in online education. He noted a strong sense of community in an online course he once took. He says the students work together on a project while living on 4 continents. He says this would be hard to repeat in a traditional classroom or face-to-face setting. For VOA Special English, I'm Carolyn Presutti. Get more education news and learn English at voaspecialenglish.com.